Today's guest is my friend and mentor, Mike Fata. He's a perfect example of someone fully committed to being the best version of themselves. At 18, he weighed 300 pounds, was bullied, dropped out of school, and had no direction in life. But he got in the gym, got in shape, and started a health food business. Over the next 20 years, that business grew to over 100 million in revenue before he sold it for 419 million. He was on top of the world until his mum died. He got divorced and no longer saw his 2 children every day. He went from his highest point to his lowest point in a short space of time, but he picked himself up and over the last 7 years has rebuilt. He's now published a book, became a professional speaker, and helps entrepreneurs grow 9-figure businesses. His story shows the highs and lows we all go through in life and what's possible when we truly commit to becoming the best version of self. If you want to be the best version of you, I really think you'll find this episode inspiring. Welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me.
I really wanted to have you on because this podcast is about creating a life, but the things that we have to overcome, the person we have to be, the identity we have to step into. And when I look at your life in so many areas, you've embodied that from your fitness to your business and many other things. So I just think talking to you and your story is very inspiring and very just insightful to anyone listening. So that's why I wanted to have you on. And I feel like it makes sense to start with your fitness journey because that's kind of the start of your journey in general when you were 18, right? So just if for anyone who doesn't know you, what was at 18, where were you at in terms of your weight, your fitness journey, and then we'll start there.
Yeah. I grew up with a single mom. We were pretty poor. So that led to a lot of cheap food, fast food, and, hamburger helper, macaroni and cheese. And by the time I had also serious leg break in my early teens, but all of that kind of had me spiraling down. By the time I was 18 years old, I weighed 300 pounds. So about 100 pounds overweight kind of plus. And that was my rock bottom moment. I was starting to realize, oh, this sucks. Like life sucks every single day. I was sick and tired all the time, sore, didn't have really good social engagement because I was bullied and teased. And then I had a whole bunch of emotional imbalances. I had a bunch of, food addictions and eating disorders. And then one day I decided to, enough was enough. And my brother was one of my mentors, a couple years older than me, said he'd take me to the gym. And that started my journey, started the whole process.
At that moment when you decided to go to the gym with your brother, what was the driving force, the motivation to do that? Because I would imagine that was quite, maybe like you felt resistance to that, or it might have been, was it scary, to think about going to the gym when you're 300 pounds? What was the motive in that moment to just want to change yourself and your life?
Yeah, it was kind of 2 things, but the biggest one was I wanted a girlfriend that wasn't a friend. I think that was probably one of the big drivers, right? I was like the friendly teddy bear. I had a lot of girl friends that were women, teenagers, but like it was that desire, and but there was also, I was experimenting with some psychedelics back then as well, and I started to see a different vision for myself. Little glimpse of it, but I saw myself becoming a healthier person. So that was the driving force that got me into the gym the first day. And then after that, it was simply that I got addicted to feeling good, like one day better at a time, right? Like a little bit stronger, a little bit better about myself. But that's what got me in there. And again, I doubled down on because my brother was already, he was a little bit chunky when he was a kid, but he'd already been working out, and he's 4 years older than me. He was the best. He was the best mentor, gym buddy, accountability partner. So when we started to train together, that was also one of those driving forces too.
Yeah, I think it's so important when we are going through a time of transformation to have people that are helping us along the way. Because naturally, if we are changing our body or we're changing our life, we're going to encounter times where we doubt ourselves or where we get off track or where we just, something slips. But to have that person there, like your brother in that sense, it allows you to keep moving forwards towards the goal that it's really important to you and at that time life-changing for you as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think accountability part. I mean, that nowadays I'm a growth coach, right? For people
Mm.
that want to change themselves personally, but business and grow a nine-figure business or like as much success as you want. I feel like I can be that sparring partner,
Mm.
accountability like coach to executives and founders and to a number of people. But in the simplest form, we all need that. Lots of psychology around that. Like how you pick your partner, your life partner, your girlfriend, your wife, your spouse, your partner is going to determine your outcome because that's one of your biggest accountability partners. It can be, but also obviously your friend group, and then there's um, getting smart enough to learn that if you don't have that partner in your life, or you don't have that friend group, like investing and trying to find a mentor, hiring a coach, like an advisor, someone that's done it before and can hold you accountable. Because in our own worst situations, we're all become our own worst self. We need people to
Mm.
shake us out of that, give us a different vision that we can react to.
Yeah. And it's like if we have a certain identity and we've always been at a certain level, let's say whether it's our income or our fitness or whatever it may be in life, our mind, our subconscious mind always wants to pull us back to that identity. And if we're stepping forward into like maybe more income or a better body, whatever it may be, um, even though consciously we want that, the subconscious wants comfort and security and familiarity, right? So, yeah,
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
go to
growth
your point now.
growth is scary, and it happens on all aspects of life. I mean, having again, I love being a example and a model to other people because I say there's nothing really special about me. I just found my moment when I was 18 and said like enough of that. I'm going to change my personal health, and then realize it wasn't just about changing my personal health. It was about becoming my best self in all kind of
Mm.
form, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, like aligning myself to becoming a best version of me. And then as soon as I became the best version of me and I got interested in business as an entrepreneur, even as a high school dropout, I started this mindset of, oh, if I just worked on becoming my best self and the best version of me, if I take that to business and become the best in a business and our company becomes the best at what we do, it's very transferable, right? They're very, very, very similar. And so over the last 28 years, 29 years as an entrepreneur, that's why I've had so much success. The world can see, hey, three nine-figure exits, $100 million business from zero, but it's actually a continuation of like just becoming, continuous improvement and becoming a best version of yourself and becoming a best version of the business.
Yeah. That's two things come to mind there. The first thing is that I really see that in you, how much you have that drive to do the best and be the best at anything you apply yourself to. It obviously comes through with your fitness. It comes through with building your first business. And then I see it now with you posting on social media, your and building the community that you have on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and the others. I see you just really trying to be the best coach and give out the best information. So yeah, I see that it comes through.
Yeah, and I do that. I mean, I've been clear to myself for a long time now that if I stand in my light, then it's the furthest thing to keep me from my shadows. And so another way of looking at that, like we all have instant gratification tendencies because I was a food addict in my teenage years, and there's always a draw to instant gratification, and my repellent to that is delayed gratification, like going and building things, long-term building things. So why I stand up and I'm a model for other people and helping other people is because it's a model for myself. It keeps me in that space.
I like that. And I think a great example of that, what comes to mind is the fact that you built your first company. And even though you sold it for like 419 million in the end, you didn't make any money from it for 10 years, right? It was not profitable for 10 years. So that shows that you delayed gratification, but because you kept building and you kept on focusing on being the best product on the market, it led to the success that you had.
Yeah, and I'm still doing it again, right? And I'm doing it because it keeps me in that space. Like the portfolio companies, I invest and I advise and I play a board governance role in my portfolio companies, but I also get my hands dirty and I can go work with the team and help them see and how to install an ERP system and how to get manufacturing workflows better and how to hire and coach and train team members to their best. Like I can do that work, and that's not below me because that's what keeps me sharp. That's what keeps my knife
Yeah.
sharp. That's what keeps me in the space that I want to be. I don't. I've tried the like, oh, I'm successful now, so now I can go and do less. But doing less is just a path for more instant gratification. What am I going to do? Doom scroll or go out and drink or party or whatever. Like, and again, I'm not against any of those things. I just they stay in harmony and in rhythm with me when I'm working really hard on delayed gratification. The glass of wine or the moments where I binge Netflix or something are that much more special. If I was just
Mm.
doing that, it really loses itself, and then I lose myself.
Yeah. Yeah. What comes to mind there when I hear you say that is the fact that you, once you did sell your business, you said you had another rock bottom moment, which we can go into later. But on this point, you, at that time, then you went into monk mode and then you started to rebuild yourself. And from that, you said that giving to others, being helpful to others is something that gave you purpose. So it kind of goes to the point where if you're just doom scrolling or you're not doing anything, you're just drinking wine, you're not fulfilled and not living your purpose. When now you're standing in your light and you are helping other people and you are being of value to others and in service, look what you've created, right? And look where you're at now and look how good you feel.
Yeah, and I was thinking about it on my run this morning. I'm at the most capacity that I've ever been in my life. You know, people say because I'm putting myself out there on social media now and sharing the things that I'm building, like you're doing so many things. You know, like portfolio of companies, coaching and advising numerous founders, keynote speeches, social content, all this creation, the give backs, and all this. And I'm like, I have more capacity than I've ever had. You know, it really fires me up to be able to do that work because yeah, when we're helping others, we're helping ourselves, right? Like you can't feel helpless when you're helping other people. And so I tell people if you're feeling like you're in a helpless situation, even for a day, like you're down, your mood's down, go and start helping other people. Like simple things, go and open the door for someone, say hi to someone, go talk to an older person and just ask them how their day. Like be helpful to other people. Obviously, if you combine that in your personal life and you're doing it as a fitness coach and helping people in that, if you do it from a business standpoint and you're helping other people, you can not only you're not going to feel helpless anywhere near it, you're going to feel fully empowered into your purpose.
Yeah, it's so true. I've felt that in my own life where on a morning sometimes, most days I feel good. I work hard and focus on my mindset and get that into a good state on a morning like I do with my fitness. But there's days like as we're humans where I'll feel a little bit flat or a little bit low, whatever it may be. And I always ask myself, what's one thing that I can do now to feel good? And it's always helping other people. It's always sending a message to one of my clients to give advice, to help them, to motivate them, to inspire them. Or maybe it's sending a message to someone on Instagram who's engaged with my content. And for me, I think maybe for you as well, just as a teacher, as a leader to other people, for me, it's helping people move through transformation. That always feels good and makes me feel fulfilled. So it's super true.
Yeah.
A question I wanted to ask about when you were starting your fitness journey, what was the things at that time that you really felt resistance to or you felt uncomfortable, but you still pushed through that to get to the future version of you that you wanted?
Yeah, well, in the simplest form, it was the bar. You know, tell people if you know it's very famous because of the TV show The Biggest Loser. You know, you see people that
Yeah.
come in there that are just 100, 200 pounds overweight or whatever, and you get into the gym the first day, and that was my journey. Like my brother, okay, we're gonna do the bench press. All it was a 45-pound bar. There was no weight on it, and I'm like crying almost to like do reps to that, and so that was the resistance. And But that day I felt a little stronger the next day or a couple days later, and so the resistance more became thinking that I had to be motivated to go to the gym until I realized that everything, and we're never motivated 100% of the time. It's impossible. You have to develop a system, right? And so and I carry that 30 years later to this day. I put my gym workouts in my calendar. I have an accountability partner that I'm going to go with, and I have it in my calendar, right? And so if you're just starting out on your journey, those are the things like and I use that in everything in life, the time blocking, like put it into your calendar because you show me your calendar, I'll show you your priorities, right? And if
Mhm.
you see my calendar, it's stacked for the day, but it's stacked with My workout was in there this morning for 90 minutes. I have 3 or 4 meetings. I have this podcast today. I'm going to go for a massage on a Tuesday in the middle of the afternoon for wellness break, right? And then I have a number of other things this evening, including my family time and dinner and dates with my girlfriend or my kids. Like, it's all in the calendar, and that's how I hold myself fully accountable. And before learning that, it was a little bit of a pendulum swing. Am I motivated? Am I not motivated? And I see a lot of people struggling with that.
Yeah, it's doing the thing that we don't feel like doing, but knowing it has to be done to get the result that we want, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
and
well, it's not. That's the delayed gratification, right? Like, so I'm a big mindset. If you change your mindset, that's a good first step into changing your actions and your habits and your behaviors. And that's why I write about it in my book, right? Like, you have to change your mindset first. And so if you just realize that all the things you probably really want to do are all instant gratification based, like you probably want to doom scroll, you probably want to have some like sweets or caffeine, or maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's porn, like all these things that people are just naturally drawn to, they go there. You know what I mean? Instead of like to have true success is get outside of that and like do the uncomfortable things that you really don't want to do, that don't have any immediate results to them.
yeah, yeah, so true. And then moving into the business, you started that. What initially when you started that and growing that business, I suppose, what were some of the changes in your own identity that you had to embody, that you had to become over that process in growing it? And pushing
Yeah,
through those things.
I related to the how rock bottom I was with the first day in the gym with just pushing the bar and not understanding, how the body works. I was a high school dropout. I dropped out of school at 14 because of the teasing and bullying, and I had started working, and so I was working construction for 5 years before I started the business. So I understood a little bit of work, right? But what I didn't understand was anything to do with business. And when I say anything to do with business, I use the example of I didn't even know how to write a letter. I had to write a letter to one of our vendors to ask for something, and I had to ask someone. Thankfully, I had this mentor that was just helping me out. How do you write a letter? It's like, dear so and so, and then the letter, and then you sign your name in the bottom, right? Like, so that, right? And so I had to learn everything in business, and like I had to learn everything about my body and food and diet and exercise. And that's why I related like becoming my best personal self to business. I became really interested in just, I don't know any of this stuff, but I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to show up every day and just fully figure out what I need to know next. And that was the first 5 years as an entrepreneur, my 21 to 26. It wasn't until, we became $1 million business or a multi-million-dollar business in revenue that I started to realize, oh, there's this whole next level of not figuring it out every day. There's systems, governance systems of how you operate a business, right? How someone that probably went to business school or a CEO would be trained to think about their business, sales, marketing, ops, finance, how that all works together in systems so that you aren't it's less entrepreneurial day-to-day actions and more like, let's lay out a program that is going to be scalable and sustainable for the business.
Yeah.
And that's I'd say now 30 years later, Greg, that's my expertise. That's what I bring to the world, is because you can capture that and take it to any business. Obviously, I'm in the health food, better for you kind of food and beverage space, but I help every kind of business because every business has the same systems and structural problem to grow. And a lot of great people that are entrepreneurs don't see how to be a great CEO. They need coaching and advising and help to show them what becoming a great CEO looks like in systems and process in the business.
Yeah, it reminds you of, it's the same with fitness, right? It's, if I think about my own life, I've got a system of the way I eat, and it's mostly healthy foods, but then I have some foods that I love factored in there, and then it just becomes a system that I repeat daily and weekly, and it keeps me in shape. And it's the same for the gym.
Yeah, I tell people, listen, I learned that over the years. I eat. People would say it's boring. I eat the same foods almost all the time. I mix an assortment. I eat a healthy diet, but it's the same foods over and over again. I basically wear the same clothes almost over and over again. You'll see me in black today. It's a tank top because I thought I was showing up for your show, so I'm maybe like show off after the workout, and it's hot and summery now. But usually a black T-shirt and simple, right? Every day I'd wake up and I'm like, I don't have to think of what I'm going to eat. I already know what my diet is like. It's very easy to follow the habit. I don't have to think about what I'm going to wear. I can just pull things out of my closet and go, so I can focus more on the other parts of life that I have to work into systems and standards and routine.
Yeah, I'm the same. I like to wear the same clothes, and same colors and eat the same food. And my girlfriend's always saying, I want to see you in different clothes.
Yeah.
I just say to her, no, it's like easy for me. I don't care.
I'm baby. Show me, design the wardrobe, and I'll do it for you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, so then, yes, so then you build the business, you sell the business, and then something that is so wow. I remember when I read this in your book, and then I talked to you about it when so basically you sold the business, you retired your mum, she'd worked all her life, and then she was obviously working for you, but you retired her, and then you said to her, okay, take some time off, and she said she was going to take 3 weeks off, and then on that 21st day she died. When I read that, man, wow, I could not believe that. I can't even put myself into that position. And then you said that was one of the hardest days of your life, right? That
Yeah.
low.
Yeah, I mean, it was the shock of grief of losing a parent is real. Unless you lost a parent, people mostly don't understand what that's like. I think probably intensified because it was my mom and I was raised by a single mom, and then even more intensified because we worked together, and even more intensified because we worked together to success and literally had sold the company like a month before that, And but how I got through it, besides the emotional grieving and processing part that I put a good system to, was realizing spiritually that my mom had served her purpose. Her whole life, she talked about her purpose was, I'm not going to mess up that as a single mom, I'm raising my two boys and I want them to be successful. So I'm going to do all the right thing. My mom didn't drink or smoke or go out and party. She had very limited friends groups because she was working her butt off out of poverty into a place that it was like gave my brother and I as stable of a home as she could. Worked all the way through to seeing us successful in business, and then it was kind of like that's why I said, I'm not a big believer in retirement, because retirement is a transition. If people transition successfully out of retirement into fulfilling their purpose in life in some other way, okay, but too many people die at retirement. And I live that with my mom. And why? Because people fulfill their purpose and then they're done.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're spiritual and you're open to these things. When I first read that in your book, and I filmed a video, I didn't obviously mention your name, but it was about you. And I said that exactly what you just said, that the fact that your mum's spiritual mission and purpose was to raise her boys and to have the life that you had. And it's almost like when that was done and the business was sold and she left this planet spiritually. And have you ever heard of Peter Crone, the mind architect?
No.
He talks about how in the physical realm we can't understand logically why these things happen, but then if we go to the spiritual place like you open to and like you just explained, then her spiritual job was done in a sense. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it was very clear with me. Like when I sat and again, it took me months to really emotionally get out of the space of full grieving process. But from a mindset standpoint and a mindfulness, it really made sense to me. That was the only way to make sense of like how it was that time. That was her time. Because I don't believe like things happen for a reason. I've always believed that, positive or negative, things happen for a reason. If you could be mindful of that and look for the reason in something, then you can act off of that, right? Instead of thinking the world is happening to us. No, we're happening to the world, and all these things are out there. Why is it happening?
yeah,
What's the purpose in it? So
yeah, it's so true.
I found as that part of my closure, really.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's great that you had that perception around it. I think in my life, when I reflect back, I say this all the time. The biggest challenges, especially in my life, and I would say it in general, help us, but we can't see it sometimes at the time how this could ever be positive or benefit us. But it's only maybe 6 months or 6 years sometimes that in the future that we're on a different path or something has happened, and that hard moment actually did help us. We just don't see it at the time when
Yeah,
we're in it.
for me, I think, and maybe for your listeners, like the more that I've done mindfulness practice, yoga, breath work, meditation, I shorten that gap to the comfort of knowing that everything happens for a reason and seeing it sooner. That was the exercise or the mechanism for me to get out of, like, listen, when I was a 300-pound overweight teenager, I was like, oh, the world's happening to me. That person did this and this happened. Like, what's my accountability in it? And my full accountability. So the more that I went introspective and through meditation and mindfulness practice, now I'm realizing I'm in full control of manifesting my life, and so, like, it shortens that gap of why things happen, even if they're bad things.
Yeah. If for anyone listening, do you have who might be going in a challenging moment, do you have, when you say your mindfulness practices, is there a specific thing you do? Do you journal? Do you go for a walk? Like, what does that look like? Is there any?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's been 18 years ago. I took a Babaji Kriya yoga meditation mindfulness practice workshop, which highly recommend. There's lots of different ways to learn how to meditate. There's lots of different forms of meditation. One of my friends was a practitioner for Babaji, and I'd already been practicing a little bit of yoga, but he taught me it's basically a breathing practice, a breath work session that leads into a meditation session, and it's a structured meditation. So over 3 days, did the workshop and learned the breath work and learn the meditation. And they say it even in for Kriya, for these workshops, either this will be one of the most spiritual weekends of your life, or it'll be a practice that you carry on, right? So I thought about it, and really, at the time and where I was in my life and my prior experience, I realized it was like, oh, I just learned how to do a bench press. And the more that I do this, my chest and my body is going to get stronger. And so I did it on a daily basis, 5 minutes of breathing exercise and 15 minutes of meditation. So a 20-minute exercise that's structured. And I got into the habit of doing it so much that, just like my exercise routine, it became part of me. And now it's not 7 days a week. I don't need to do it 7 days a week. Like, I don't work out 7 days a week. I probably work out 5 days a week. But I always have that I can go back to, and I can instantly get myself into a space by saying, and I'll feel it, like, if I haven't done a heavy lift in like 2 or 3 days, I'm like, I need a pump of my muscles. If my mind feels like I'm too on the edge of my seat or pressed up against the windshield of life, and I want to be back in control in the driver's seat, I'll just do a session. So Babaji Kriya Yoga, I can send you the information, because they have practitioners, kind of Canada, US, maybe Mexico as well, like all over the world, that would do workshops. There's an ashram in just outside of Montreal in Canada that quarterly they'll do that session, and great for partners, great for couples, but such a powerful practice.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the fact that you've been consistent with it for so long that it's now just become something that you don't need to do every day, but it's a tool in your toolkit that you can use when you need to.
Pull it out constantly. Any day that I'm doing keynote speech, for sure, I am. But probably meditating, probably doing breath work and meditation, same thing, like 4 or 5 days a week, on average. But I can get away from it, and sometimes, like, oh, you know what? I haven't sat down and actually done a session for 15 or 20 minutes in like a week, and it'll trigger me to go back into it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, I think we all have things that work for us, and the key thing is finding what works for us uniquely, and then just doing that and being consistent with that. I know for me, going for a walk, just listening to music at a certain frequency really helps, or just 30 minutes to myself. And if I really feel stressed or overwhelmed, it's sitting with myself and writing out, asking myself the question, why am I feeling stressed today? Or why am I feeling sad? Or what's causing me to feel this pressure? And then when I can ask myself why questions, and I can get to the underlying root of it, and I see it with a different perspective, and then I can ask myself, okay, what do I need to do to feel calm or relaxed instead? Then I can work through it logically. So for sure, yeah, finding what works like you have, and going back to that toolkit or the tool when you need it.
Yeah, this is probably like the superset, sitting in that. But I do the same, and I'd say this: if you like walking with your dog, like I in summertime now, so my street is 2.5 miles long, so I've been going a 5 mile run. Usually it's like run half and then walk the other half. Also get that. I'll do a meditation on top of that, because it's like you can supercharge things. But yeah, whatever brings you into a mindful, peace, relaxing state that you get perspective on yourself, because at the root of it, we're not our body. You know, we're not our mind. Our spirit is the witness of, when you're thinking thoughts and you're witnessing your thinking, that's us. And to tap
Yeah.
into that on a regular basis is super powerful.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I think so many people, like even myself, if I go back 3 years ago, it's so easy to just be in logic and in the hustle and in the working and not actually giving ourselves that time that we need. And I think about, I used to, if I felt stressed or anxious, I'd just try and keep working through that day. And now it's like, no, stop. The first thing, my priority every day is to be good here. I want my whole body and my nervous system and my mind to feel good. So if I wake up and I'm not feeling good or feel a little anxious, I'm taking time to do that before I do anything else. And then I'll
Yeah.
go and work out
Our
after,
logic,
right?
yeah.
That's the key.
Our logical brain, when we're stressed is like, unfortunately, it's like the dog and the bone, right? You'll play over thoughts over and over again. You have to break out of that pattern. That's why again I schedule to satisfy my logical brain. It's on the schedule, so it's fixed, and then it opens up that part of me that lives naturally in flow state. When I exercise, when I meditate, when I sit in the sauna, when I do kind of any of my health practices, even massage, getting like body treatments and stuff, it's a meditation for me. And so scheduling the meditation, I know that I'll keep myself in flow. I want to operate in flow state as much as possible nowadays. I deem that, you see the term in my book, like living your best day ever. A big part of living my best day ever is not only the things that I'm doing, but how I'm feeling. And the how I'm feeling is I want to be in flow. I don't want to be overly logical, like my brain trying to process my life, because there's much more power than that in existence.
I love the fact that you're like so into like being in flow. I think we're kind of moving out of that phase of the culture where it was just hustle, hustle, hustle. I see it so evidently with some of my clients who are coaches, your work as well, what you just said. And that's something I try and embody as well. It's being in this balance of work, but also flow, enjoyment, and also no attachment to the outcome where I've got to try and force and force and force to achieve something. It's that balance of enjoying doing what I'm good at and doing what I need to do, but in a flow way. So yeah, it's super
Yeah,
powerful.
that's why I mentioned earlier about the capacity. Like I used to, for many years I'd work like 16 hours a day, or some of it was like 100-hour work weeks, right? As I was building as an entrepreneur. But I realize now I have the knowledge and the wisdom, but I get 10 times as much done, and I probably work half the amount of time because I'm focused on the things that I really need to move forward, and then I make sure that I'm in my best space to be in flow doing those activities. That's what flow for me is. I use it on the, because I do a decent amount of public speaking and keynotes. If I'm up on stage and I'm thinking about the things I'm going to say, like I'm thinking about my talk, game over, right? Like the audience is going to be like, "Oh my God, this is so boring and chopped up." And we all have seen speakers like that. You have to go and know what I'm going to say and know how I'm going to address the audience and pace and all that stuff, but just go into a flow state, and when I'm in flow state, don't even realize that I'm there. Don't even realize it's been 45 minutes. The keynote's over. I kind of learned that from I played pool when I was younger as a teenager, and I started this practice of going, okay, pool is such a complicated sport that you have to understand the mechanics of the ball, the angles, the positioning, how you hold, the cue and everything, and set yourself up. But if you're thinking about all of that when you're trying to take shots, you're not going to be good. Same with golf, right? Golf is a very technical, and there's a number of other sports. They're very technical. You have to understand what you're trying to do and actually how to do it. But if you're thinking about it when you're doing it, it's not going to work out good. You have to do enough practice to then get yourself into a flow state. Well, if you can really change your mindset around that and bring that flow state to all the key activities of your life, like your health, like your work, like your relationships, you're living your best day ever, man. Like that's it. It's I don't want to simplify it because it's a lot of work to be able to get there, but a lot of it is through this mindfulness practice.
Yeah, something that comes to mind there when you say that is thinking about vibration and frequency from like metaphysical sense. It's like I felt in my life before where I was trying to force things, or where I was even with my fitness company, I was trying
Oops. Yes.
with my fitness company where I was trying to force and work and do that, where I felt more aligned to build a community of people in a transition phase of life. And what I felt was when I started speaking to both, how easy and how enjoying and how easy and how fun it felt to build this community. And I think because I was in such a high vibration and have been, it's just attracted so many opportunities and people and situations so easily, where the fitness has felt I've had to put a lot more work in to get the similar result. So it just shows that when we're in flow and when we're in doing something that we enjoy, we're in a high vibrational state, and we just attract so much so quickly.
Oh,
So
yeah. The power of manifesting when you're in a space of joy, man.
yeah, and it
Why
feels
if, that's why I tell people, like, like if they're at their, some people are living, they're at their rock bottom. It's unfortunate. I was there myself and I had to crawl out of that. But anyone that talks like, I'm just waiting for the weekend, because they work all week, but they want to enjoy their weekend because then they blow themselves up a little bit. I'm like, these destructive patterns. I used to do it. I'm like, I can't wait till Monday morning. Monday morning, like my whole team and the world is active, and I get to connect with everybody and like run my playbook. If anything, my weekends have become more like my days. Like every day is very similar, right? Like I work out. I like to do some deep work, so I'll do deep work on the weekends. Like there's not this. And again, I've been there myself in the past, and I see a lot of people in it of like you're not enjoying your day to day, and then which is usually, Greg, you're doing the wrong thing for yourself, and that's the scary moment to realize that, and then say, now what do I do about it? Do I make these wholesale changes in my life? Do I change the relationship that I'm in? Do I go and change my job or my career? All of that transitionary stuff is really scary. Or you just exist in this space that's suboptimal, that you hate your life, and you just your Monday to Friday, and you just usually enjoy your weekend, and you're enjoying them because you're numbing yourself and blowing yourself up, and it's a vicious cycle that repeats over and over and over again.
Yeah, I feel so grateful that I get to do what I do and enjoy my work. Even today, I was super excited this morning, waking up knowing on a Tuesday morning I'm filming a podcast with you. And I said to my girlfriend, I just love having deep conversations. That's one of the most highest priorities I love. And then the other thing is giving insight and wisdom and doing strategy with my fitness clients to help them. So yeah, it's awesome when we can enjoy what we do. And then you said about rock bottom moments. You had two, obviously one when you were 300 pounds, and then the other one was after you sold your business and then you split with your ex-partner and then your mum died. In that moment, what helped you get back on track? What did that process look like? Just for anyone listening who might be in a hard season, a challenging moment, a rock bottom moment.
Yeah, I've learned, I don't know if it was clear through that time, but this is what the outcome was understanding this is how I developed my best day ever exercise, and put it into my book and my workbook, is that what did I want my days to look like, and going through, how I wanted to spend my time, what really rest and recovery look like, what exercise look like, and write it out, what that day looks like for me, this ideal day, this best day ever. Then it's easier to do a little audit of the day I'm living in right now. I'm not making the best choices. I'm emotionally depressed. I don't have a way to put my purpose into work. And there was all these like negatives on my day. And then I could do a gap assessment of where I was versus what that best day is. And that's the transition time, so that the transition had a start, middle, and end to it. So when people are going through transition, and people reach out to me all the time that are, hey, I'm just going through a divorce. I just lost my job. I'm thinking about changing careers. I'm going into retirement, and I want to go into the 2.0 of retirement of my, and it's really scary because of transition. And I say to them, let's have a transitionary plan. One, be mindful that you're in transition, because whether you're forced or you chosen. And then two, know what good looks like that you're aiming for at the end of transition, so you work a plan to get there. That's what's most likely going to have you come out, because transitionary times don't last, and it's usually never the same. So you either come out better or you come out worse. And the difference between coming out better and worse is usually a plan.
Yeah. I feel like have been going through a transition, and I'm still in one. I think I talked to you about this before, but I've been a fitness coach now for over 10 years, had two fitness companies. One was fitness gyms and classes in the UK now, online fitness coaching. But I felt going through, built up what I believe to be successful business. Pandemic, I lost that and broke up with my partner at the time and just hit a rock bottom. And then now I feel like from rock bottom, I've been rebuilding, but learning about spirituality and self-development and going through all these things, it just changed my whole perception. And I wanted to build a community of other people, coaches, content creators, people like myself, rebuilding and building business and in those early stages to where we could just support each other and hold each other accountable. So yeah, I felt this transition moment a year ago, and I was thinking I wanted to speak my authentic self. And I know your book that you gave me is on authenticity. And I remember reading that at first thinking, I just want to speak authentic, but I was holding back because I was scared to break this image I built online of just a fitness coach, because it was safe, right? My ego was safe. But in doing that, honestly, this last 4 or 5 months has been so freeing and fun and satisfying.
I think from seeing you a little bit of time that we spent together and then seeing you from afar on the regular, I think you're through the transition. You're just early into the next phase of your growth, right? That's how I'd say you're not in transition anymore. Now you're already starting to voice it and speak about it. Like I was in transition, I was lacking this stuff. Like, and now you have the direction. Now you're just early into the building, and you're gonna build massive things, however you want to build. So like that's clear to me. Like it's I went through similar of going like I don't when my journey ended in the business and my I got a divorce and then my mom died, like all that was so transitionary that I was like, okay, I'm really in transition. It took about 6 months for sure of hard transition, but that year I'd count like it was a transitionary year. And then after that, I was like, I'm not in transition anymore, but I'm still early. Like I'm still early in the phase of what I'm doing. People see that was 7 years ago now, right? Almost 7.5 years ago. Now people look and be like, "Oh, Mike, you're like, yeah, I built a portfolio of 8 companies that are like monsters in growth. Not they weren't 7 years ago. Now they are like Midday Squares or Bloom or Own Mushrooms or Nuts for Cheese. But like built my portfolio practice, my coaching practice, wrote a book, started keynote speaking, like all these things that 6.5 years ago when I felt like, okay, I'm out of the transition, but I was early in my process of what I wanted to become, and now I've spent half a decade to kind of work those up, and they're kind of there. So like that kind of realization, I think for you, just think of where you're going to be 5 years from now. Now that you know what the next phase of your life, career, existence is focused on.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, thank you for saying that. It's definitely now got the clarity, the direction, and I know where I'm going. And for me, I just had to take action, because in taking action, that clarity came, which so perfect.
Yeah, I give a little story for you and your listeners, but like I wasn't on social media before 6 years ago, okay, and but I felt like when I went through that transition, I said, I need to exude my leadership. I felt like that, like I had for 20 years. I had a growing team that we grew up to 200 and plus team members when we were a $100 million business. And every day I got to coach and advise and hear problems and issues and resolve it. And I wanted to share that thought leadership, but I didn't have an outlet. And so I knew then, I'm going to go onto social media, onto LinkedIn, and I'm going to start sharing some of these things. But I didn't know what I was going to share. I actually started talking to some of my friends that were thought leaders and said, I want to share some of my thought leadership, and I just don't know where to start. And should I have someone that helps me write articles and interviews me and does this? And they're like, Mike, just start sharing stuff, like just start sharing yourself. And I'm like, oh, you mean don't be perfect. Just actually start doing the reps, like don't have a perfect plan for the gym and don't go, just go there and start doing the reps. And then you realize after that you grow into it, like you just naturally grow into it. Now I feel comfortable, whether it's getting on a podcast or writing my thoughts down or whatever, that I'm gonna exude myself. I have full permission to be myself all the time, and I've even heard that from my therapist. She gave me compliments. I have the same therapist. I go see her monthly. It's been 17 years. She goes, Mike, it's been 2 decades, and you used to be a CEO when the business was really growing, and a little bit perfectionist, thinking you have to hold up an image for the business, for yourself and who you are and all these stuff. And now I see you that you're just being yourself all the time. Doesn't matter. Being yourself with your kids, being yourself with the community, being yourself in business. And I'm like, wow, okay. It's good for someone else to witness that in you, but super powerful when you're just yourself. I see you playing that out of going, I just want to share my authentic journey and share authentic on social. Well, you are sharing. You don't need to stop about the authentic. Just keep being more you. Here's my journey that I'm doing now. Now I feel like I'm out of transition. Now I'm in the early rep phases of my career business. And I'm saying that to you, Greg, but I'm really saying it to anyone that listens to and watches this episode, right? It's because it's the same for everybody. It's really the same for everybody.
Yeah, that's something you do so well, and you've been helpful and inspiring to me in just being you. And truly, when we just show up and are ourselves, it's so freeing and liberating. This is from someone who's just overcome this last 5 months because of the image thing. But yeah, truly, when we just show up as ourselves, it's so nice just to be us and to know that the people who then resonate with us and we attract into our community or life are people that are similar minded. That's an incredible feeling.
I have one more, like, and it's a therapy moment, but these are these big ones in life. Is that, I sat with my therapist. This was a couple of years ago, and she said, "Mike, what's your biggest fear?" And I said, "Well, it's actually regressing to the person that I was before in my mind. That's my biggest fear, because I came from a rock bottom moment for me." And I had a little emotional moment with her as I was took a couple minutes for that to come out of my mouth, and then she said, how does that feel to hear yourself say that? I said, "It sounds ridiculous." And I like, it actually sounds ridiculous. But the thought was in my head so long that I was convinced of it. And like taking voice to it and getting the words out is the way for us to see the ridiculousness that we've been fearing in our mind, right? Like just take voice to it, whether that's talking to a therapist, talking to a friend, putting yourself out on social media, talking about your worst fears. And it makes me think about, you see the Eminem movie 8 Mile, in the rap moment when he's going to win the rap battle, and he comes on and he's like, "Hey, yeah, I did grow up in a trailer park and I did do this, and my mom's a piece of shit," and all these different things that were bad in his life, brought it out there fully. And he's like, "Because now what's the world going to say about me? I've already said all of my worst stuff." It's super freeing. It's super, super freeing to do that. And I highly suggest anybody that's kind of living in this a glass house of perfect for themselves, think about that exercise and try it out and see where that brings you in life.
Yeah, it's so true, man. I think it's exposure therapy. The more we just speak, the more we just get things off our mind, and the more we realize that other people don't really. Everyone's got a busy life. I realized that I was overthinking these things. What would my friends think? What would Mike think? Right? But
no one cares. No one cares. They're all
right.
No one cares. No one has time to care. Yeah, in high school we're trained like that. I didn't go to high school, but my kids are in high school and I see them going through it. And I said, it's just you feel like you're living in a glass fishbowl, but trust me, life's not working like that. Everyone's so busy doing their own thing. This is a trick that your mind plays on to keep you safe, but also keep you a little locked up. So
I just want to ask one final question. What's your definition of living an empowered life, and what was your advice to do that?
Yeah, I think fully living an empowered life is giving yourself full permission to be your authentic self and do things that you really enjoy, that you can add value to the world. And some people may not realize what they enjoy and what value that they can bring to the world. And so my advice is, it's kind of like expanding your palate from a food standpoint. You got to just try different things and see which ones stick, right? Because when it sticks, I found my passion for health and my purpose for health, not only for myself, but sharing that with the world. But that's what turned into business, and that's all of my success. I see that in kind of everyone. When you go and nibble on all these things, don't be afraid to try all these different versions of yourself. Open up and be your authentic self, and versions of things that you want to have impact in the world. And when you unlock that, look out, it's very, very, very scalable after that, but that's the hard work to be able to go through at first.
Yeah. Awesome, man. I really appreciate you coming on, and genuinely, I appreciate the help you've given me, the insights, the inspiration, and I'm glad that we're friends and you're in my circle.